What is up, YouTube? Today we are looking at another user-requested sound. We are looking at a Liquid Soul style lead. Let's check out what I've got so far. Liquid Soul's lead sounds generally make use of a lot of delay and reverb, and a couple of tricky techniques using those effects. I'm not going to dive too deep into the synth patch in this video. I'm just going to show you guys the sort of way that the sort of synth is used along with the delay and the reverb to create that kind of spacey effect. It's cool because this type of lead focuses more on the kind of gaps in between the notes rather than the notes themselves, if that makes any sense. And that kind of creates more of the sort of atmospheric effect. So yeah, let's dive in. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. So the patch is pretty simple. I'm not going to go ahead and rebuild it from scratch in this episode, but I'm just going to kind of talk you through a couple of the key aspects in the patch, and I'm going to upload it for my Patreon $5 supporters. I mean, like I said, the idea of the synth patch is pretty simple. I think with this tutorial, I'm going to focus more on the kind of the effects and stuff and using those in a couple of different ways. So the idea here is there's two oscillators. The first one is a square with octave +1, and that's mixed up quite a bit higher than oscillator 2, which has its phase set over there. Okay. Oscillator 2 has unison of 3 voices, etc., etc. You can copy as I've got it so far. So then on the filters, I've used Acido LP2, cut off like this, resonance a little bit higher than the resonator number 2, which is an Infecto HP2, and the cut off like that. So I've changed the default envelope settings a little bit. You can kind of copy to see what's going on here, but these aren't really as necessary in the sort of in the way that you're kind of shaping the sound. So the most sort of I would say the most important part of the actual sound design process of the sound is the shaper. And I believe it's, I used hard and I set drive to about 60% or so, like that, and dry wet also to about 60%. There's a little bit of chorus and a little bit of reverb as well. And then some X-Comp, I boosted the volume a little bit, and then some EQ and stuff like that. So like I said, it's not too fancy, it's like a basic patch. So anyway, the actual melody itself, this is a pretty cool technique, and I like to use this quite a bit, is you write a sort of full melody pattern. Let's just go to the last bar like this. So obviously what's happened here is, I think what Liquid Soul does a lot is he creates like a small loop like this and then fine tunes that melody. So let me just show you what the melody sounds like. I'm actually going to turn off the effects and stuff here. So like I said, I mean, it's not exactly like the sound was in the example that was sent through to me, but I kind of wanted to focus this tutorial less on the actual synth patch and more on the effects and how to use those effects. So I just figured I would throw this in for added little sort of bonus. So anyway, once you've kind of built that short MIDI pattern, then the idea is to like lay it out over a 16-bar sequence and sort of progressively sort of span it out. So what I mean is here, on the first one, it plays only the first 3 notes, and then the second time it plays the first 4 notes, and then the third time it goes back to the first 3 notes, and then the last bit it plays the final sequence. So then the idea is to put a delay effect on that, and you kind of create this very spacey kind of atmosphere that, the delay, the sound kind of sort of creates this almost like chord because of the way that those notes are working with each other in the scale. And it kind of, when that final melody comes in, you kind of expect it already because based on the kind of sound of the chord beforehand, if that makes any sense. So it kind of creates this cool atmospheric effect where the sound, if all the notes in the melody are in scale, and the sound just kind of always just kind of works together with this cool kind of atmosphere that complements the rest of the track and the synth that you're working with and stuff. So this is the effect that I'm talking about. So I find specifically with the more progressive genres, it's nice to use a 1/4 time bass with a delay. As you can see, I'm using Color Copy. It's quickly become my favorite delay plugin. The reason I say it's nice to use a 1/4 time bass is because it gives you that very kind of on the beat, you know, backwards and forwards kind of rhythm that complements the kind of slower sort of time or tempo that you're using. Specifically when you're using this kind of like offbeat bass kind of stuff, then it can complement it very nicely, and that's definitely what was done in this Liquid Soul track that I was referencing. So like I said, I've set it to 1/4. The regen was quite high, and I've set the feedback coloration to number 2, or just a little bit above number 2 over here. And the tap, I've set the right to about 25%, and then the rest of the settings I think are pretty much in it. I turned the mix down a little bit. So here I've added a brick wall limiter. And the idea behind this is that I found when the sound kicked in, there was too much of a sort of gap between the sort of big transients of the synth and the atmospheric effect of the sort of delay and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of even out those peaks. So I used the brick wall limiter to kind of squash the synth sound and then accentuate the tails thereafter. And then this is the final sound. So that's the basic synth sound and the delay effect. Then we have this kind of sweep type of effect. And how this was created is, this is interesting, and this is a technique I like to use a lot, specifically with vocal samples and stuff like that, but I'm going to save that for another episode. So here, what you want to do is you want to turn off this delay. So what you want to do is you want to select this first one and drag this back so that only one note is going to play. And then let's render this guy out. I'm actually going to remove this channel while I do this. And then I want to just reset this back to how it was before, unmute it. For the purpose of this, we can just mute it for now while I work on this guy. So here what we want to do is we want to use offline processing. That's one of the reasons why I think I still hold so dearly onto Cubase and can probably never move to another DAW, is I just love these sort of vast offline processing capabilities. So anyway, specifically for this kind of sound, I like to use Waves True Verb. It's got a preset here called Millennium Verb, which is fantastic for these kind of like creating long tails out of sort of just a single pluck sound. So I'm just going to leave that as is and hit process over here. And now we've created this sound. It's cool on its own, but now it's even better if we reverse it. So let's right click, process, reverse. And now we've created that sort of lead into the sound. Let's have a listen to what it sounds like laying alongside that synth like this. We're going to want to turn that delay and stuff back on first. Yeah, here we go. Anyways, hope that helped you guys out. Hope that gives you an insight into how to create those kind of atmospheric type of effects with a delay, how to create those kind of sweeps with a reversed reverb. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you use these types of techniques already, also let me know in the comments. Maybe there's something I could learn. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. So yeah, as always, I'm going to post the preset onto my Patreon for my $5 supporters. If you want to check out what that's all about, check out the link that's going to be on the screen somewhere around here. Also hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing. If you like this particular video, hit that like button. See you guys next time.